gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's a Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
First this morning, we're seeing on top of a developing story, the GBI is now stepping in after an officer returned fire in a shooting right by Six Flags over Georgia. Our Erica Murphy is live breaking it all down. And Erica, this initially started with hundreds of people inside the theme park. Walk us through what led up to the shooting.
Wow. So a place that I remember as a kid, as a child, that was a place of fun, a place where you could kick back, relax, be with family, and feel safe and interact with some of your favorite cartoon characters and superheroes. Six Flags over Georgia has now been infiltrated by these super gremlins on Demon Time. And at their grand opening, they're forced to do a grand closing because you have these people coming in, fighting, getting into brawls and beefs and op cultures in full effect, you know, and then they get to shooting in the parking lot. This is where we are at in the Black community. And this is another amusement park that we're talking about these shenanigans going down at. These super gremlins are on Demon Time.
Cobb County Police say there were hundreds of people involved in several brawls here at Six Flags over Georgia here in Austell last night. But it's when park security and Cobb County Police stepped in to get things under control that things turned very serious right outside of the park. Police say that the melee started inside the park last night right after 6 p.m. And when police and security followed the crowd of 500 to 600 people to make sure that they left the park, someone shot at officers. The shooting happened on Six Flags Parkway near South Service Road, which is right outside of the park. An officer returned fire, ultimately hitting one of those suspects.
So an officer had to put one of these super gremlins down, and he wasn't killed, but he was hit. And this is what we're dealing with, right? You have an unruly community that is completely spazzing out at all public venues, and it's really sad to watch because we're trying to set an example of what Black men and women should be. And when I show you these clips of what started this whole debacle, you're gonna shake your head in shame.
That suspect was treated here on the scene and then taken to Grady. Now the GBI is stepping in to investigate the shooting. Now, one of the saddest things about this whole situation is this was opening day for Six Flags, and so park officials are saying that they are not going to tolerate this sort of behavior. Back to you.
Yes, certainly, Erica. Thank you. We'll check back in with you for an update at 9:30.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with continuing coverage about a shooting involving an officer near Six Flags, leaving one person in critical condition. Police say this happened after a fight between two groups of people broke out, and at some point shots were fired towards officers, forcing them to return fire. Right now, GBI is investigating this case. 11 Alive's Erica Murphy has the latest.
Saturday was the first day Six Flags over Georgia opened for the 2024 season, and what was supposed to be a day of fun turned into chaos.
I just saw helicopters, saw lights everywhere, mainly just the helicopters.
The worker who
And they had the GBI out there. They don't play. They don't play.
wanted to remain anonymous, says she started seeing large crowds of teens running. Police say there were hundreds of people involved in multiple fights across the park. When they tried to get the crowd out of the park, people started running. Then someone shot at officers and hit a squad car. At that point, an officer shot back at a group running into the woods, hitting a 15-year-old. The park worker says the whole situation is sad and parents should step up.
They should not be left unattended or supervised by their parents.
Yeah, there needs to be a rule at Six Flags where if you're under the age of 18, you have to come with adult supervision. And this is what I mean by the super gremlins ruin it for everybody. So now you have to go through more wait times, more lines, and there ain't no fast pass to getting pat down and metal detected and all this kind of stuff. So you have to go through more hoops and hurdles just in order to have a good time, because there are, and I wish I could say a few, but there are a whole collective of super gremlins who are, coming to this what was once a great amusement park and just completely acting the fool.
I believe that, this is a fun park and there's other people here that pay money to be here and that they would like to be just as safe as anyone else.
The park worker says what happened Saturday night doesn't surprise her because she had a close call with teens inside the park last year.
I just pray for the youth because I did have some young people did try to attack me one day out here. They just really did want to get their way.
We learned that the fights may have been planned. We're working to confirm that with police. Reporting from Austell, Erica Murphy, 11 Alive News.
This is the second major incident at Six Flags in recent months. Back in October of last year, a 43-year-old employee died during an incident at the park. This is a picture of Andrea Cook. Police say she was one of 7 passengers riding in a van through the theme park. She was ejected from the side door of a van that was open. According to the report, only 2 of the 7 passengers were wearing seatbelts. A 27-year-old employee who was driving the van was charged with felony and voluntary manslaughter and 6 counts of reckless conduct.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. starts now.
We are coming on air here at 11 with breaking news tonight. The GBI is stepping in after a shooting involving an officer near Six Flags over Georgia on opening weekend. Let's get right out to our 11 Alive's Teresa Bowles, who's live there on the scene. Teresa, what are you seeing and learning?
Police have Service Road, where I am, as well as Six Flags Parkway, completely blocked off. I see dozens of police officers behind.
And think about how many people are inconvenienced by this, by this whole situation, and how many innocent kids' night was ruined. It's absolutely insane. It needs to stop.
Behind me, that scene is really serious and it's really foggy out here, so it may be difficult to see, but here's what we know. The GBI is investigating an officer-involved shooting. We have information from a representative at Six Flags and Cobb County Police. Police say a crowd of 500 to 600 people became, quote, unruly. A fight broke out. The crowd ran to South Service Road. The park maintains that this is where the shooting happened, not on their property or the parking lot. Police say suspects shot at officers and the officers shot back. One of the suspects was hit. A spokesperson for Six Flags.
And rightfully so. They deserve to get clapped by the officers. And I'd be interested to see if any of the Black Lives Matter conglomerate are going to come out and, try and make a fuss of this situation that was caused by the individuals who got shot.
Is reacting to this tonight, saying, quote, it is incredibly disappointing that our community is disrupted at public events throughout the region by groups of underage youth. Just like other venues in the area, we are committed to keeping this type of trouble outside of our park and off their property. Police say the suspect is recovering at the hospital, and we'll stay on top of this and update you as we learn more.
was chaos and panic on opening day at Six Flags over Georgia after officials say 500 to 600 people ran through the park fighting. This all led to an exchange of gunfire right outside of the property that sent at least one person to the hospital. Thanks so much for joining us on this very busy Saturday night. I'm Eric Perry. This all unfolding just after 6 this evening. Fox 5's Joy Dukes is live for us. Joy, all right, you've been working this scene. We see the crime tape and the roller coaster behind you. Walk us through what you're learning.
Yeah, Eric, good evening to you. Just absolute chaos, as you mentioned there, erupted here near Six Flags earlier this evening, where GBI officials say they are investigating an officer-involved shooting that left one person with a gunshot wound. Now, this all started, as you mentioned earlier there, when Six Flags Park security say that they were met with an unruly crowd of about 500 or 600 people here inside the park that were running through the property and fighting. They contacted Cobb County officers for backup. While officers were trying to get that crowd of people off of the property, they say those individuals fired at officers, who then fired shots back, hitting one person. And that person was taken to the hospital for treatment. We're told no officers were injured, but a vehicle was damaged. Videos of the incident have been circulating online. They show a herd of park goers stampeding out of the park property, just trying to get to safety at the sound of those gunshots. Park officials said there were no shots fired on park property, and that the shooting itself took place on South Service Road, which is obviously just a few hundred feet from what you can see here, park property. But they say that the culprits seem to be underage kids. In a statement from a spokesperson, they said,
so underage kids, sisters, come get your kids. We see this time and time again. Underage kids, most likely single mother raised, and the women, they can't control these kids. They can't discipline these kids. These kids have become son husbands. Okay, so it's absolutely ridiculous that the parenting level in this day and age has gotten to the point where it's just so laissez-faire now, and these parents don't care where their kids at, right? As long as they, keep getting their EBT card renewed every month, then they good.
quote, our goal is to provide safe, fun entertainment. It is incredibly disappointing that our community is disrupted at public events throughout the region by groups of underage youth. Just like other venues in the area, we are committed to keeping this type of trouble outside our park and off of our property. Now, we spoke with a woman who lives nearby. Here's what she had to say about the ordeal.
Crazy that a group of kids could cause all this. It was a real big group of kids. I've never seen a group of kids like that if outside of a high school. Parents need to just control the kids better probably, or step in and make sure the kids is doing what they need to be doing.
Now, the GBI is handling the investigation. You can see the crime tape up here. They have South Service Road blocked off to traffic while they conduct their investigation. We have seen a number of GBI officials here with their flashlights walking around trying to collect any evidence they can here. You see the mobile crime scene unit is also out here this evening. Now, what is still unclear is whether there will be any arrests or whether any of those children will face charges. That's the latest here. We'll have more for you coming up tonight at 11. Live in Cobb County, Joy Dukes, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, Joy, we know that no officers were injured, but they did tell us that some patrol cars had some damage. We'll see you at 11.
Now, this morning we're waiting on an update on how a 15-year-old is doing after being shot by police. It happened near Six Flags over Georgia this weekend. Cobb County police say they fired back after fights within the park. Ariana Manise joining us live with more on what happened.
And they're going to be like, oh, well, the cops are racist and all. No, y'all were endangering the lives of so many others. And guess what? Good guys with guns always trump bad guys with guns, okay? And that's how it should be. So I'm surprised we don't have protests outside this Six Flags, honestly.
Ariana, still a lot of questions surrounding this morning.
Yeah, that's right, Cheryl. Day 2 of the season here at Six Flags Over Georgia was a much more contained atmosphere. That's after day 2 ended with several brawls and one teen shot.
It was really good. It wasn't that busy. There were several rides that were closed, but the lines weren't really that bad.
Thrill seekers were back at Six Flags Over Georgia Sunday, hours after what can be described as chaos outside the park on Saturday. Opening day at Six Flags ended with multiple fights as a crowd of 500 to 600 guests ran through the park, according to the GBI. Shots were fired at police where an unoccupied Cobb County police car was hit on South Service Road in Austell. Officers shot back at the group who opened fire, hitting a 15-year-old. The teen was rushed to the hospital. A day later, some say that although they knew of the incident, it did not scare them away.
I did seem a little more empty than usual, but ultimately I felt safe.
Saturday's shooting comes almost 1 year after a large group of young people were kicked out of Six Flags on opening day for, quote, inappropriate behavior. A spokesperson for the park says that this year's opening day was disappointing, but they're committed to safety and security, something guests say they noticed the next day.
See a little more security people than normal, but it wasn't alarming.
Six Flags went on to say that while the shooting took place off property, they won't put up with that type of activity. And guests say as long as the only thrills they experience are on the rides, they feel safe enough to continue visiting the park.
Cautions to be to have more police around, so I don't see why not.
Now, 11 Alive reached out to Six Flags Over Georgia to inquire if they will change policies regarding minors as far as if they can visit with or without an adult. We're still waiting to hear back. Back to you.
15-year-old will face charges after a shooting over the weekend near Six Flags. It left him in the hospital. The GBI says that teen was shot by a Cobb County police officer.
11 Alive's Molly Oak live out.
So they got the 15-year-old, and notice we don't hear a narrative about guns and all this kind of stuff because the narrative is not lining up with what the mainstream media wants. And thank goodness we have coverage on this story because many stories like this don't get coverage at all. So there is a real issue in the community. It really is. I mean, it's bad. It's not good at all. Okay. And we need to figure out a way to overcome it, honestly. And denial, I know we got a whole bunch of deniers in the comments section, but denial is not a solution, nor is it an option at this point.
Outside the park tonight in Austell. So Molly, we know this shooting is still under investigation.
Yeah, and as we've been out here, we've watched Cobb County police officers join us out here as well. You can see for perspective, the park is behind me. Across the street, you see a couple of leftover cars. Earlier, more crime scene unit Cobb County police cars out here. Right now, I'm watching as officers off camera are taking photos of this wooded area across from the park. But earlier, they tell me they were doing an article search. So that basically means officers and a canine were out here looking for any weapons that could have been thrown after the shooting the other night in hopes of finding them before anyone else does. Now, I want you to take a look at your screen because Cobb County Police also tells me the 15-year-old will face a handful of charges. And the key word there is will. Aggravated assault being one of them, aggravated assault on a police officer as well, possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, also possession of a firearm under 18, and finally interference with government property. Again, I say he will be charged because the GBI says he's still in the hospital in critical condition, and police say they have a warrant for his arrest, and he will be arrested on the pending charges once he's discharged from the hospital. Now, this all comes after a fight involving dozens of people happened over at Six Flags Over Georgia on Saturday. Now, the GBI who is investigating says Cobb County police officers were called in to help with the crowd control after there were fights as people were leaving the park. It says at some point multiple people began shooting and hit a marked police car with no one inside. Officers ran after people who ran into the woods. During all of this, the GBI says a Cobb police officer shot and hit a 15-year-old boy and then later found a gun near him. Now you're getting a live look at some of those officers right now. If you can come back to me, we do know that we also asked Six Flags if the park was looking at increasing security or changing any type of protocol following the fight that happened on property and then the shooting that happened off property. All Six Flags would tell us is that the GBI is investigating. Guys.
Yeah.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Jenquavius Jackson, and y'all already know I'm demonetized and shadow banned in this bitch. So if you want to contribute, go to the Cash App, the PayPal, the GoFundMe, or join the Patreon. Also, don't forget to visit the merch store for all your favorite BGZM News 17 gear, including our exclusive Trump is a Blood t-shirt. Go fast before they sell out. They are already flying off the shelves, no cap. And remember, these super gremlins are on demon time. So guys, I have video of what went down, what actually occurred at this Six Flags, and let me tell you, it is embarrassing, it's shocking, it's appalling. But these are the types of children that are being raised in the community in Atlanta, and you wonder why there's so much dysfunction. Let's watch. All right, we're not gonna listen to the music, but as you can see, fighting, just recklessness. I mean, this is absolutely insane. And we've got more video. Okay, as you guys can see, everybody running after there were shots fired. They calling it surviving ATL Six Flags, and you can see people think it's a game. They think it's funny. They're laughing and with the laughing emojis. But we're not taking this situation as seriously as we need to be taking it. And everybody's filming. I mean, it's bad. It's so bad in the community. I mean, I don't understand why we are trying to live in denial as if there's not a huge issue with the youth, especially going on today, that is going to permeate into future situations that are going to continue to happen just like this. Unless we make a change, then you're not going to see any concerted effort to, at this point, you know, recover the image of black men and women in this country.
A massive brawl inside led to officers shooting a 15-year-old who is now in critical condition tonight. Police say the shooting happened as hundreds of kids were running around the park Saturday and multiple fights were breaking out. Then someone shot at officers. Atlanta News First Bridget Spencer is live outside of the park. Bridget, you were seeing a lot of people out there tonight as the park was closed for the day.
Carly, Tori, that's right. And we even saw a lot of police cars that were out here at the front entrance. Now, what we saw unfold last night was horrible, and it was full of people. Lots of people were reacting. And also, we have community advocates who are now calling for some big changes. Complete pandemonium.
You know what's funny? These same community activists that are calling for complete changes are the same community activists that literally created these issues. Defund the police, criminal justice reform, no cash bail. What's the I forget the mayor's name who was in here before Andre Dickens, but she pretty much, is it Kim Porter? No, I think that's another mayor, but she pretty much implemented a policy that would allow for people to not go to their court dates if they had, you know, a misdemeanor charge. And although that may seem minuscule, it actually covers a lot of different crimes that are quality of life crimes, I believe. Keisha Lance Bottoms, that's her name. I don't know why I mixed that up, but yeah, I mean, it's a quality of life crime that you don't really have to go to your court date for, and it's got the courts backed up in Atlanta. But it's kind of funny. We had Keisha Lance Bottoms as a mayor. Then now we got Fannie Willis. So there's something with butts in Atlanta that we can't get around when it comes to our elected officials. It's kind of weird. And we know Fannie Willis was getting papped out by Nathan Wade. So, man, we got a lot of problems in Atlanta, a lot of issues. And we need change right now.
Erupting Saturday night at Six Flags Over Georgia. Hundreds of people running for their lives.
I'll be out the way.
This employee, who wishes to remain anonymous, was there when the chaos broke out.
People come to Six Flags to have a good time, and I feel like it's just uncalled for.
Police say just after 6 p.m. Saturday, an unruly crowd of about 500 to 600 people began fighting inside the park. Police were able to get them outside park gates, but that's when an unknown group started shooting at Cobb police officers. An officer shot back, hitting a 15-year-old suspect who was taken to Grady Hospital.
If an officer being fired on, he has to protect himself. He want to go home to his family too.
Gerald Rose is with New Order National.
Wow, it's crazy how these people now just have some understanding of what position our police officers are put in. I mean, who would have thought that these guys would be able to think about this situation rationally instead of emotionally?
Human rights organization. He pushes for fair treatment of all, and he's appalled at the violence he's seeing.
Just the fact the suspects that's doing these crimes are younger and younger. 15 years old. You're supposed to be being at home playing Atari or video game. You out committing adult crimes. That's unacceptable. I'm angry.
The incident leaving frequent park goers like Unisha Lawrence on edge.
That's really kind of crazy because it's like, you want your young people to be safe, and you also want a safe environment for family and friends. I feel like I'll have to definitely bring someone with me to be safe.
Now, Six Flags did release a statement saying, quote, "It's incredibly disappointing that our community is disrupted at public events throughout the region by groups of underage youth." They also say they hope to keep this type of trouble off of their property. We're live in Austell tonight. Bridget Spencer, Atlanta News First.
The first statement that we did get from Six Flags Over Georgia's staff members said, quote, "Our goal is to provide safe, fun entertainment. We employ state-of-the-art security systems and metal detection, maintain a robust and vigilant public safety department, and have strong support from the Cobb County Police Department, who are present both inside and outside of the park," end quote.
Gang violence and other kind of violence. So it is what it is.